Hey traders, Raghee here, and in this video we're going to talk about relative outperformance and how a futures trader looks at different equities. Now this is important for a number of reasons. We're going to use Facebook as an example because this was a recent trade. In fact, this was a day trade from yesterday, but it's going to give you the building blocks of things that I like to do both on the intraday and the end of day chart. So let's start with the NASDAQ. We know the NASDAQ is in a nice double green uptrend. We've talked about that before in previous videos. We know that the intraday has been a market that I've been looking for volume-derived support levels to buy off of. Again, a reminder, if this is your first video with me, we have had a long-only intraday and end-of-day call since June the 10th. So we're coming up on 2 months of a long-only book. So that means I'm not going to short this market. And if I end up with a day that continues lower, that's fine. I'll get stopped out of my long and I'll stay flat until another buy sets up. And the probability when you play a long only book has been now for a good 2 months far, far better than looking at opportunities on both sides of the market. The shorts are lower probability, generally speaking. All right, so with that being said, NAS was a little bit lethargic the other day, and it wasn't giving me the kind of crispness in the setup that I would like. So what we did, I'm just going to rewinding to yesterday so you could see it. It was really sloppy. But what wasn't sloppy was Facebook. Facebook actually got sent lower to the volume-derived support low. And I thought, you know what? Number 4 weighted name in the NASDAQ and in the S&P for that matter is Facebook. Nice bottom end of the range, nice V-score, volume-derived support confirmation. And while this is not necessarily part of the setup, I love the idea because I had just done an interview with the street and they were asking about TikTok and Microsoft. I said, well, you know, a lot of people are underestimating some other names that are going to be beneficiaries if the deal does go through and if it doesn't. And one of the names that if the deal doesn't go through is Facebook, because there was a lot of talk about Facebook releasing sort of a TikTok version of a service that would basically piggyback onto Instagram. And sure enough, Reels got introduced today, and Facebook has been, moving much higher. So what we did yesterday was we not only day traded the NASDAQ. Some of our traders go NASDAQ futures, so they'll go long the September NQU contract. Others will buy at the money QQQ ETF calls, and we added Apple and Facebook to it. Now, let's talk about day trades for a moment. When you buy a stock during the week in the anticipation that you're going to be out and within the session, maybe or two, that to me is still a day trade because I'm managing this on a 1-minute chart. That's really important. So to me, if I'm managing the sentiment and the momentum and the organization of price structure in a 1 minute, that's a day trade to me. One thing that made me really happy about taking this trade and scaling out into today, I mean, look, nobody knows we're going to have this kind of day in Facebook. However, some of you see me talk about the propulsion dot setup, and sure enough, that's exactly what we had. So those kinds of things give me, on an end of day time frame, a lot more confidence to play the intraday. We also had an inside day on Facebook. So one thing I'll say is a lot of day traders, it would do them a lot of good to consider some of the cues that we see on daily time frames, even when they're trading the 1 minute. And then I'll tell the futures traders, look, sometimes if the structure on the NASDAQ futures isn't looking good, look to some of the sector ETFs and individual stocks for better structure. And that's how a futures trader looks at Facebook. I hope that's helpful. Something we do in the room all the time, something that I'll be teaching you guys more about in the upcoming weeks. Let me know, leave me your feedback, and I'll see you in the next update.